Welcome to the Firestarters video series. My name is Steve Scheier. I worked in cannabis since 2018. I talk and write about power, and I offer leaders in cannabis leadership guidance and curated advisory boards. I'm the co-author of Power Up, the essential tools for cannabis business leaders, which is available on Amazon. And it's my great pleasure to welcome Tracey McMillin of Ohio Wellness. She's the Chief Operating Officer, Chief Operations Officer of Ohio Wellness.
It's Pure Ohio Wellness.
I'm sorry?
We are Pure Ohio Wellness.
Pure Ohio Wellness. I knew, Tracey, if I tried to memorize too much, I would blow that. But thank you for correcting me. Pure Ohio Wellness. Thank you very much. And thank you for being on the show. So, Tracey,
thank you for having me.
Oh, my great pleasure. My great pleasure. So, what we've been doing in the last few sessions is asking people to describe the state of cannabis in their home state. So perhaps you can start off by telling us what's the state of cannabis in the sovereign state of Ohio.
Well, it's very exciting right now. We are a medical state, but there is an initiative in place to go for adult use in 2022. So I expect to see that on the ballot in November. They currently have it submitted, the initiative submitted to the legislature right now, where I don't have a great expectation that it will get approved by the legislative body, but I do believe that then we'll be able to get it on the ballot. So it's really an excited time right now in Ohio for what's about to come. So everybody is kind of frantically trying to get themselves in a place where we can accommodate that. And they also just approved 73 new licenses for dispensaries in Ohio. So the demand's about to get a whole lot bigger once that all starts to get up and running. So.
Well, wonderful. Okay, so Ohio is booming and it's
booming
going to
right now. Yes, booming
even more. So
yeah,
can you tell us a little bit about your background and your journey into cannabis? This is a question I always ask because everybody has very interesting and unique stories, and please tell us yours.
It was sort of accidental. I actually started my career as a young person as a dental hygienist, and then it transitioned into practice management in that the dental and oral surgery field. And in 2017, as our owner, Larry Pegram, was getting Pure Ohio Wellness up and running, we kind of stumbled across one another, had a real organic connection between us, and saw a transition between the medical field and the regulations and getting licensure and things like that. So I came on board in the summer of 2018 while we were not licensed at the time. And I helped to set up the offices and get the licensing done and those sorts of things, all the administrative tasks, and which kind of evolved into the position I'm in now, just because in the early days of a startup, which I had never really encountered, it was a lot of all hands on deck, 4 or 5 of us moving in 100 plants and caring for them and having our first harvest with just a handful of people and things like that. So during that first year, there was a lot of getting things up and running. We opened 2 dispensaries and our cultivation, and it's been it was just a process. So it was more accidental than anything. I didn't come on board to be in this position. It sort of evolved into that, and it's been very exciting.
Right, and I think it resonated with you emotionally in some ways, and the stories we heard about people. So can you talk a little bit about the emotional resonance and how you think you're helping, or you are helping people in this area?
Yeah, I think that for me, the opioid crisis in our area was so, I'm going to use pandemic as a word because that's so fresh in all of our minds, but it was so startling here. I had friends who lost people to overdoses. I've had family members who have been addicted. To see this as a viable option for that, I think, it's helped so many people. So the medicinal side of things really resonated with me initially, and particularly coming from a medical background, seeing what I was seeing from the pharmaceutical side, as well as over prescribing of those medications, watching watching the medical field start to figure out how dangerous that was, and then for myself, just learning more about cannabis and the misconceptions and the misinformation that we've been fed. I think it really opened my eyes a lot. So yeah, there is an emotional connection for me to cannabis as well. I really have, over the last 4 or 5 years, really changed what I feel about cannabis. I have a whole new appreciation, if you will. So yeah, so it's
Yeah.
emotional for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us, thank you. And so many people get into this space. So many of the people I've talked to, interviewed, interacted with, got into the space because of a story like you just shared. It's not because they want to get rich, though, they'd be happy to get rich too. And
Yeah, that's how
and
I've
that's,
always said that too. It's interesting. I've found the same thing with the people I connect with in this industry. It starts emotionally, and it never really is about money. But that's a fun sidebar on that. I mean, it's not.
yeah, I mean, if you can get wealthy
Yeah,
by doing something good in the world, what's wrong with
yeah,
that? I mean,
exactly.
it's really fantastic. So, can you tell us a little bit more about Pure Ohio in terms of how many people you have, and what's your business focus for the next year or two? Just general.
Well, our we have about 150 people between our 2 dispensaries. We have processing, so we're fully vertically integrated. And our cultivation, we are a level 1 cultivator, which in Ohio is the larger of the cultivators licenses that they allotted. We're at full capacity right now. We are actually working on preparing a proposal for expansion, which the state in 2021 began to accept those proposals so that we can expand to 50,000 square feet, which will, double our workforce as well. And our plans are to continue, right now, our whole focus is getting ready for the next step. It's to be where we're, up and running enough to produce enough to supply 73 more dispensaries, which is going to be challenging,
Hmm.
and continue to supply our own dispensaries. Our mission as a company is to be affordable. So, and going back to what we were just talking about, it's great to make money and get rich, but truly, from the start, our entire mission has been to provide a quality product at an affordable price, because the biggest complaints people have in medical states, I think in ours in particular, is that it's expensive. And when you're using something medicinally that you can't afford to provide to yourself every day, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
So we've done everything we can to remain affordable, and we'll continue to go on. Will continue to be our mission, but we just need to figure out how to produce more. And the constraints of, like everyone else, the pandemic has provided us with a particular new set of issues, supply chains, looking at building a new building. We know that's going to take longer. It's going to cost more. Financing in cannabis is challenging. So those are all the things that we're working towards in the next couple of years, and solving the problems and getting things off the ground. And if the
Wonderful.
rec goes through, we'll get 3 more dispensary licenses, as well as an additional 50,000 square feet automatically.
Wow, that's great. So, and what are the challenges on the unregulated side? Is there unregulated market still booming in Ohio, I imagine?
I would imagine I have been told, we are competitive with the unregulated market as well.
Uh-huh.
Our pricing is in our
Or pricing,
dispensary.
uh-huh.
So I think that we've unsettled it a bit from there, but I think getting a medical license in Ohio, while it's not difficult. Chronic pain is one of the conditions, so it is a relatively simple process, but we are limited as to what we're allowed to share with the public as to how to do that.
Mhm.
So I think people just, in the confusion and the fears and the misconceptions, I don't think we have as many patients as we could or should have. So
Mhm.
going into recreational is going to kind of blow the doors off everything here, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's really true. So one of the things I'm always curious about, I've interviewed a number of women leaders in cannabis so far. Lisa McClung, who is a consultant in Chicago, Lisa Hurwitz, who is the CEO of Happy, which is a beverage company, Autumn Shelton, who's the president of Autumn Brands in California. I'm always curious what the challenges of being a woman leader in cannabis might be. What are some of the obstacles that you've encountered, and what wisdom can you share with other people in general about how to navigate in this really wonderful but still challenging field?
Well, it's definitely a male-dominated business.
Mhm.
It is at times I have found hard to be heard in a room full of men that are talking louder than I am. So I've had to learn to be more direct.
Mhm.
I have learned to be more forceful and powerful in what I'm saying to be heard. And that is not 100%. I don't encounter that inside the walls of my own company. I do encounter that when I am up against suppliers, in particular things like talking about building a new building,
Right.
dealing with it is challenging. So my advice is to just stay the course. And women are strong in this industry. It's just, and I think that at times better leaders because they're intuitive more so than a male, I think in general. So I think you just have to maintain the course, and your voice is hard to get heard sometimes, but
Was there a particular, and without going into details, was there a particular incident that spurred this realization that you have to be more dynamic or that you have to be more
yes.
outspoken?
Yes,
Would you?
and it's funny because I have our cultivation manager. He is a young, I don't know, under 30
Uh-huh.
man, and he actually recognized it without me ever having to say it. He said, "Why is it when we get in? So in the building of the building, we're working with a large company of male dominant company." To lay out the plans for that as far as the actual technical portions of it. And I will be in the email threads to begin with, and then suddenly my name drops off. And so our cultivation manager has to repeatedly state, we need to have Tracey in on this because she's going to be the one making those decisions. So that's probably been the most obvious, I would say.
Yeah.
It's so interesting the way that I get. So I have to be very forceful in inserting myself into certain things to make sure I have all the information I need to make those decisions.
Yeah, no, good for you. Good for you. So, as you know, Tracy, as we've talked about, I've written about power. I wrote this book, Power Up.
Yes.
And so, which you were very kind in sharing your comments with me about. So, what are your thoughts about power? How do you see power? What is it that does power is something that you feel can be used for good? Is something that is worrisome? What's your thoughts about power?
Well, honestly, I didn't think much about the word power until I read your book. I kind of view it in a different light now because it afforded me the opportunity to really think about it. So I found it fascinating to really start to delve into that. I see it after reading your book. I think prior to that, I still feel a little uncomfortable with the word. I think that, and you address that in the book, that it's a little bit of it has a bit of a negative connotation, I think, for most of us. But I think when you look at it as leadership and you make those two words somewhat interchangeable,
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes very positive. So looking at it from that regard, I think that there's a lot of good that can be done with it. I think power combined with, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for now is. All of a sudden I've gone blank, but
it's okay. It will come to
with
you.
intimacy and a willing to put yourself out there, I think it can be a very positive thing. So
Yeah. Somebody said to me recently, Steve, why did you write a book about power? I mean, the very simple reason is that this book is not for people who feel powerful. I mean, the people who are power hungry, they get a lot of press in the world,
yeah.
but that's actually, I think, a pretty small number of people. The people who are like, running, in the book and on my website, I talk about how there are people who are underpowered. It's sort of like lighting a city. If you're underpowered,
Right.
you can't do a very good job. If you're overpowered and you're like Chernobyl, you're not going to be doing a really good job. So you have to be centered in your power. And this book is for people who want to be centered in their power, people who want to. I've seen so many more people in cannabis that are underpowered than people that are overpowered. And so
Yeah.
this is for people who are, I'm trying to bring into their power so that they can run more successful companies. So, all right. So Tracey, as we wrap up here, you've talked about your organization's goals for the next couple of years. You're going to have a really wonderful time in Ohio, I know. Do you
Yeah.
have any particular goals that you want to achieve yourself? And tell people how they can reach you.
Well, I would say for myself, it's to expand our business. That's really, I love what I'm doing. I love the operations end of things. So probably my favorite part of that is grooming people to replace me someday. So
Yeah.
my goal is really just to hang on and get through this next few years in Ohio, and grow Pure Ohio Wellness, because I'm very committed to the company and our brand. How to reach me? Our website, you can reach me on the website through the customer service. My email at Pure Ohio is available on LinkedIn.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, Tracey, thank you for making a little time for us today. We really appreciate it. And I am really happy that we were able to connect with you today. You're an innovator and a pioneer in a state that is transitioning. You have a lot to say about the goal of your company and being a woman in this space.